back to another Warframe video. Today we're going over the Paris Prime. I did two runs of this, one with raw damage and one with heat inherit. Let me explain what heat inherit is first. Heat inherit uses the base damage of the weapon you're currently applying heat stacks with. The heat percent and faction percent from the weapon to apply the first heat stack gets added to your DPS weapon and will use its base damage for calculations after heat stacks get refreshed by its procs. Damage then gets multiplied again by the faction percent of the DPS weapon. The heat percent from the DPS weapon only matters for proc priority and the continuing application of heat stacks. Its heat percent isn't taken into calculation for heat inherit. Now, if I'm completely honest, don't do raw damage with this one, since you'll be throwing away the phenomenal amount of status that Paris has. And from some gameplay that hopefully you'll see, this is a new sort of format I'm trying, but hopefully that you'll be able to see the gameplay. I'm showing both runs, one earlier in this vid and one later in this video. Both the earlier one is the raw damage one and the later one is the heat inherit one. You'll see that there's a very stark contrast. The raw damage one can take quite a few shots to take down the Dementia, but the heat inherit just needs one or two shots before the damage over time or the dot tick takes over and completely melts the Dementia. Onto the build. Let's first go over the frame. Revenant Prime. The helmet today is Roar. For ability strength, we have Umbral Intensify, Transient Fortitude, and Blind Rage. Growing power in the aura, and mode augmented in our arcane slot. Fully built up without mode augmented active, we have 428% strength. If we tag in our Parazon, we have 478% strength. This pushes our Mesmer skin from 25 to 28. For ability duration, I have Narrow-Minded and Prime Continuity for 227% duration. This gives Roar 67.95 seconds per cast. Equilibrium and Prime Surefoot, Equilibrium and Prime Flow for our energy economy. This will keep us topped up, with exception from the energy drain conduit. Pressure Footed and Rolling Guard serve as a layer of survivability if our Mesmer skin runs out. You wouldn't want to be knocked down before you can roll, and all you have to do is roll, then recast your Mesmer skin within the 3-second iframe granted by Rolling Guard. And as for our final arcane slot, I put Arcane Rage for the 15% chance for the additional 120% base damage to primary weapons for 24 seconds. If your Arcane Rage is maxed, you can get up to 180% base damage, additional base damage from this Arcane. Next, let's go over the Paris Prime. Galvanized Chamber for our multi-shot, Galvanized Aptitude, and Amalgam Serration for our base damage. Amalgam Serration is also here for the sprint speed because one of our perks requires the additional sprint speed. Prime Bane Grenier for the faction damage multiplier. Var Acceleration for the additional fire rate. This is our only fire rate mod. and the only other fire rate source would be from our perk. Vital Sense, Critical Delay, and Hammer Shot constitutes our critical chance and critical damage. Hammer Shot also grants us additional status chance so that we can hit a higher level of status. The status chance from Hammer Shot, Galvanized Aptitude, and Besarge Ball gives us 280% status. The arcane I went with was Longbow Sharp Shot. Despite it not being maxed, this played a very big role in my run because it acts like an eclipse damage multiplier, whereby it applies as a final and total damage multiplier. Next, let's look at our primer. Our primer today is the Epitaph for that Force Cold and Blast. As mentioned earlier, since this is a heat inherit setup, you would need your heat percent on your primer. So I have prime heated charge and scorch for a total of 225% heat. Other important mods are my toxin mod and my cold mod to make viral, and my faction damage mod to be part of the calculation for heat inherit. Finally, let's look at the Glaive Prime. This is the generic build that I bring to all of my caps to deal with acolytes when I'm using primaries or secondaries as my DPS weapon. Now, if you're wondering, yes, I do not have a strip on my frame. I do not have a Vasilock to strip my Demolists. So how am I stripping my Demolists? I'm using Unairu. Unairu has the Caustic Strike node that gives me the capability to strip 100% of enemy armor. This is a permanent strip, so you don't have to worry about the Demolist pulse stripping stripping the effect of this ability. Do note that you need to hit this ability in between pulses, because when you hit as the pulse goes off, this is nullified. And now, as mentioned before, this is my Parazon using the Power Drain mod for an additional 50% ability strength. And if I need up angle energy, let's say after energy drain conduit, I have Blood for Life and Blood for Energy. Blood for Life drops health orbs. We have equilibrium on our frame. This equilibrium will convert this to energy, and Blood for Energy has a 50% chance to drop an energy orb. So if you get lucky, in a total, in one stab, it's 55 because equilibrium does the conversion at 110% rate. So a health orb drops 50 health. The 110 would make it 55 for energy. And then 55 plus the 25 from your energy orb, giving you a total of 80 energy. That, and along with a 50% free ability strength. And one last thing that I need to mention, the Paris Prime perks that I have chosen. First perk unlocks Incarnon form. Now the second perk is where the additional sprint speed granted by Amalgam Serration comes in. We need a sprint speed of 1.2 or higher. Revenant Prime on his own does not have that. However, with this, I can break that. This gives me an additional 80% fire rate. My third evolution, 60% projectile speed. This gives my projectile more speed, which means I don't have to lead my target as I shoot. And my final evolution is for the additional 60% status chance. This is to give me even more status chance since I'm doing Heat Inherit. If you enjoyed this video, do like, share, and subscribe. I do Warframe level cap guides, and if you have a weapon you want to see me cap with, do leave them in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day, and bye bye.